Trigger warning. The following podcast contains content that may be deeply disturbing. You will hear first-hand accounts from parents and family members who have lost children to filicide, the murder of a child by a parent or caregiver. These stories are raw, emotional, and shared from the perspective of those who have lived them. They include details of unimaginable loss, system failures, and trauma. Please take care while listening. If at any point you need to pause, stop, or step away, we understand. Welcome to Voices Against Filicide. I'm your host, Hope Houghton, a mother who has walked this journey and an advocate turning my pain into purpose. This podcast shines light on filicide cases, statistics, who these children were, and so much more. Together, we speak the truth, honor their lives, and we continue to fight for change. Before we go any further, I want to talk about two of the brightest lights I've ever known. My own children, Alec and Lydia. Alec with his love for Pokemon and his kind heart, and Lydia full of joy and her love of unicorns. They were more than my whole world. They were joy in human form. Their hugs, their imaginations, their laughter, all of their personality lives on in this podcast and in the work I do every day to protect children and raise awareness. This podcast is for them. It's for every child whose voice was silenced too soon. Alec and Lydia, you are my why, and I will never stop fighting in your name. Thank you for joining me today for today's episode, and let's get right into it. Today's episode is a little bit different than our normal episodes. I am sitting down with a mother who has a story to tell regarding her child and the family court system. Her child has not died of filicide, but has been taken away from her, and she would like to share her story and what she is doing to raise awareness of the concerns with our family court system. So today I'm welcomed by Melissa. And Melissa, we are so happy to have you on today's podcast. Melissa, if you could tell a little bit about yourself and then go into your story.
Yeah, my name is Melissa. I have a daughter who is 9.5, and she is everything that I always wanted in my life. From the time I was 14, I would pray that if I got to be a mommy, that it was to a little girl who very specifically, had brown curly hair, who loved to sing and dance and was really attached to her mom. And my daughter is all of those things. She is the living embodiment of my answered prayers. And I waited a long time to have her. I didn't ever know if I would have a child because I had polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so that's why from a young age, I knew that it would be difficult. And I just prayed that if I got to be a mom, that it would be specifically that type of child. And I worked focusing on my career as a quality engineer in the automotive industry. I found a lot of success there and have always been very independent and focused on doing the right thing, especially working as a quality engineer. It's really important to make decisions that are right for the people that are going to be owning the vehicle that the part is on. So making sure that I'm making sound decisions. And that extends to my personal life. I've always been the type of person that weighs all sides in order to make the best decision given whatever is going on. Um, so um, that's a little bit. I'm also an activist, so because I believe in the in people's humanity and that everybody should be treated equally and that we need equitable systems. I have also advocated for people who have faced abuses of power and systemic oppression as well. So prior to being in the position that I'm in, my daughter and I in the same position, I fought for people that were being oppressed and also dealing with abuses of power.
Mm-hmm. Can you share with us your story of you and your daughter and what you've kind of went through with the family court system? And you're in Michigan, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I am in.
Okay. And can you, share with our audience your story, what you've been through, kind of the misunderstanding of our family court system, and how, in my eyes, they failed you as a parent. So yeah, if you could tell us your story.
Yeah. So I believed that family court would protect children. That was my understanding when I was forced to file a child custody case in March of 2019 when my daughter's father refused to return her. So basically, he had committed a parental kidnapping by refusing to return my daughter. He was also saying that I had to fill out a statement that would have been false, saying that I was poisoning my daughter through my breast milk because of medication that I was on, even though that medication is perfectly safe to nurse an infant.
Yeah.
And at that moment in time, my daughter was 2.5, almost 3, and was self-weaning. So she really only needed it at night, mainly. Or it was not like she was nursing all the time. And even her pediatrician said it's perfectly safe for her. There's no danger whatsoever. But my daughter's father was trying to coerce me into signing that statement in order for him to return my daughter. Those were his words. And I said, I'm not stupid. I know that you are going to use that to try and claim that I am a danger to our daughter because you already threatened to keep our daughter from me. And I know that that is what you are doing. So I'm not going to sign that. It's false to begin with. I'm not going to be coerced. And he's like, well, then you're not going to get our daughter back. And so I went to the police. I had to file a statement with them that he was harboring our daughter and trying to coerce me. The police did not care because he lives in a very wealthy community in Michigan. And so they wouldn't do anything because there was no court order. There was no child custody like
Agreement.
schedule for us to follow. We had done everything amicably and amenably up until that point. And so the police would not do anything. Now, there are some communities that I know of in Michigan that would have issued a Amber Alert. They would have went and got my daughter, but particularly because he is in I'm pretty sure the community he lives in is the wealthiest community in Michigan.
I think I know what you're talking about. Can I interject as well? So for the audience, I'm in Michigan as well, Melissa, and I'm working with Brandy Maury Poles for the Rowan Act. And so in your case, if the Rowan Act was implemented and passed, you would have been able to get your child back because the Rowan Act is exactly what you're talking about. It is to go and get children that are kidnapped by their parent, by custodial kidnapping. So this is why it's so important for us to pass this Rowan Act, not only in Michigan, but for every single state that is listening to this podcast. This law needs to be passed in every single state. Okay, go ahead, Melissa. Sorry.
No, thank you for bringing that up. That's a very good point, because there is no current law telling municipalities that they absolutely have to go and get a child if there is no custody arrangement. There are some cities that will do it based on the fact that if a affidavit of parentage is signed, then absent a court order, the primary custodial environment is with the mother. And that is something that has been upheld by previous attorney generals in the state of Michigan as well. So there are some cities that will just go and do it, or they will issue even an Amber Alert as well if it's been multiple days without contact.
Yeah.
But wealthy communities protect wealthy people. They don't protect children. They do not protect people that are harmed. And that's something that I have learned in this case. So the next day I filed a custody case. I live in a different county than he does.
Okay.
And I went to the county I live in, which is Macomb. I wanted to start a new custody case and also at the same time file an emergency motion to have my daughter returned to me. I was informed by a friend of the court in Macomb County that I can start a custody case today, but I cannot file an emergency motion the same day. I have to wait a certain amount of time.
Okay.
And given the way that my daughter's father was talking to me and the way that he had threatened me in the past, I was very concerned for my daughter's safety and that he was possibly harming her and did not want me to get her back because I would figure that out. And so I was trying to debate what to do, and one of the police officers from the community that he lives in called me and asked me what was going on. And he was really upset. Like, this officer was very upset that the person in charge over him wouldn't go get my daughter. He was very upset by the whole situation. And so I believe he genuinely was trying to help me in this situation and not misguide me in any way. So he called Oakland County, where my daughter's father lives, and found out that I can start a custody case. And as long as I file that emergency motion before the end of the day, the judge would hear it on the spot. So I drove all the way out to Oakland County, went to the law library, started everything, and got a judge, and then went and filed an emergency motion. I went to the judge's chambers, shared the reasons for my emergency motion, and the judge's clerk was very concerned by what I had presented via text message from my daughter's father. And so they did grant my emergency motion, and they advised me not to go deliver it by myself. They feared for my safety, given the things that my daughter's father was saying. So the police went with multiple cop cars. They did not allow me to go to the door. They only did it because they said that they didn't want any like issues to my safety or whatever, or for my daughter to see me and feel torn or cause any trauma in that regard, something like that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, he refused to hand over my daughter, and we had a hearing on my emergency motion.
Even with the motion, he refused to hand her over.
Yeah, and the police would not take her because there was nothing in the order from the judge that explicitly said that the police should remove her.
Okay.
So we went to court on, I believe it would have been the 21st of March in 2019. Whatever day was a Friday. That's all I know.
How many days past the motion and you go into his house, or the police go into his house and serving this, was the hearing?
It was the next day.
Oh, okay. Quickly. Okay.
Yeah, they granted my motion, issued an order, and also scheduled a hearing, and like all on the same day.
Okay.
So I was like feeling really good that, I'm gonna get my daughter back. This court is going to protect my daughter. They're gonna believe me. I had no idea whether or not he had an attorney. I had a thought that he may have an attorney, given the fact that he was trying to coerce me, but I also wasn't 100% positive that he did have an attorney. At no point did he say he did, but I knew that what he wanted me to sign in that coercion, he would have used with an attorney. So I show up, I'm representing myself, and he has an attorney. And it's an attorney from the most powerful family law firm in Oakland County. And they claim that his concern is about my mental state because prior to that, the beginning of the month, I was in a mental hospital because I suffered a very common side effect to medication, which is suicidal ideation. Very common. And the medication that I was taking should have never been prescribed me. It caused me to be severely suicidal. I recognized my own symptoms and it was like, I have never thought like this ever in my life. And I have CPTSD. Never have I imagined causing harm to myself. And so I knew something wasn't right. So I called him and told him, like, somebody needs to arrange pickup for our daughter for daycare because I need to go to the hospital. I'm not in my right mind and I don't know what's going on. And I'm scaring my own self with like the thoughts that are going on in my head.
So you were actively trying to get help because you knew something was wrong.
Yep. So in the state of Michigan, the law is if you go to a hospital and you say that you are suicidal, they're going to, they have to, by law, find you a bed at in a psychological hospital.
Yeah.
So I was there, and so that's what he tried to use. And he said that he doesn't know that I was properly released. But also in the state of Michigan, there's only 2 ways that you can be released from a mental hospital, and that is you have met the requirements to be released by the psychologist, or you petition the court. Mm-hmm. Something that any court can look up. So if I had actually petitioned the court and successfully won that, which most people don't, then they would have also known that. There would have been a court record. And I don't have any court records other than that child custody case.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So they knew that what he was saying was not rooted in any reality. Mm-hmm. And then the judge that we got, she decided, because he's making all these assertions about my mental fitness, she could tell that I clearly was mentally fit, that I had been properly released. Said that, well, I'm gonna appoint a guardian ad litem to investigate your claims, sir, and you're going to pay for it. And during that period of time, because you are concerned for your daughter's safety, your daughter can only see her mother if she has a supervisor, and it can be anyone can be her supervisor, but you're gonna have to pay that person.
Like supervised visitations, you mean?
But so I was like, well, do I have to find anyone? And she's like, no, it could be a family member or a friend. And I offered my mom to do it, and he said no to it. And I happened to have a friend that came with me that day for moral support, and I was like, well, my friend Caitlin is here, and she is a mandated reporter. She works with children. She also works with people with disabilities and cares for them. So she would be a great person to be a supervisor. Mm-hmm. My daughter, knows Caitlin really well, so it's a perfect fit. And so the judge said that my friend could be the supervisor. And leading up to that point, my birthday was a few days later, and it was also a Sunday, and I wanted to be able to spend the whole day with my daughter and take her to church, celebrate my birthday. And the night before, my daughter's father was being very controlling about when I could have her, how I could pick her up, how long I could have her, and whatnot. And just harassing me and trying to deliberately ruin my birthday, and also limit the amount of time that I could have with my daughter. So very, very much, very coercive. And he would only allow me to have her for a short amount of time. On that Sunday, I was able to take her to church, mm-hmm. which made me very happy. And my daughter loved going to church. She loved Sunday school that they had for the preschoolers. So, we loved doing that. And then the next day I was going to work from home, and my friend Caitlin would be there to supervise. And he was like, you need to decide, you need to tell me exactly when you're going to be working from home, because I'm not going to let you have our daughter if you're working. And I'm like, well, you have seen me take care of our daughter when I was working from home. So you know that I am able to take care of our daughter while also simultaneously working from home. You know that. So there's no issue there. And the supervisor will be there. And he's like, well, she's not a babysitter. And I was like, she's not going to be. She's just there to supervise us. And he said that he would only let me see her if he knew the exact time. And I said, okay, well, then I'm going to be working from home at this time. He's like, okay, then you can't have her at that time. So again, more coercive control, more manipulation.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In your orders from the judge, since was it a male or female judge? Sorry. Female. Okay. Since she granted supervised visitations, wasn't there any sort of was it just an hour amount that you could have I'm confused. Was there any orders of you get her on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays? Was there any sort of parenting plan along with the supervised visits?
So what the order specifically said is that whatever days Miss Crook and her supervisor and whatever days her supervisor is available to have to be there. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It said whatever days the supervisor was available and Miss Crook is available, that the father must accommodate.
Okay. There's
no qualifications about what it was that I did. It's just whatever the availability was. And it could have been all day that I had her.
Okay.
It did not matter. It's just whatever my availability and the supervisor's availability was.
Got it.
And then the schedule that we had prior to me having to file the custody case was that on Tuesday evening, he would either drop her off or I would meet him halfway and pick up our daughter. So he would have her from Saturday through Tuesday evening, and then I would have her the rest of the time.
Okay.
And we would do, and that was only if he wanted her on the weekend. Otherwise, I would drop her off Sunday evening. It just depended on what he wanted to do or what breaks I had. So that was so on Tuesday evening, it was supposed to just go back to the normal schedule. Mm-hmm. He refused to let me have her. And I said, well, I'm going to be there at 8 a.m. to pick up our daughter. And then, at 6 p.m., I'll bring her back. And he didn't like that at all. And I said, well, you don't get to decide. It specifically says whatever my availability is and my friend who is supervising, what her availability is. She is available. Thus, you need to make it happen. It's not what you want at all. And so I showed up there that day in the morning. He refused to let me have my daughter. He said that if I didn't leave his property, that he would have the police come and arrest me for trespassing. And because I already knew from dealing with the police in that city, I knew that he had called them and said that I was trespassing. They would have arrested me for trespassing.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because on the day that he refused to return her, I was like, well, I'm just going to come and pick her up. I'll just come get her. And he said that he would have me arrested for trespassing. And that was one of the questions I asked the police. I'm like, would you actually arrest me for trespassing, trying to pick up my daughter? And they're like, well, yeah, if you weren't welcome there and they said you needed to leave and you continued to stay there, then yes, it would be trespassing and we would arrest you. And I'm like,
wow, people. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we left and I had to call my attorney that I ended up retaining.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually she got his attorney to convince him to let me see my daughter. And so, but that threw off my whole day. Thankfully, I had a boss that was very understanding and he knew what I was dealing with. And he was like, don't worry about it, Melissa. Like, it's okay. Like, I understand you were going to work from home and you're dealing with this situation. He's like, I'm just going to pray that you'll be able to see your daughter today. Don't even worry about working. Just focus on your daughter.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I had that.
Yeah.
So finally, when I went to go pick up my daughter, I got her in the car and I was like, hi. And I could tell like she was not clean. Her clothes were dirty and disheveled. She smelled kind of weird. And I was like, what? I don't understand what's going on. And they were kind of all of it was red flags to me, that she was disheveled and in dirty clothes and smelled weird to me. And when I put her in her car seat, I was like, did you have a good day so far? And she started to get really agitated. She started to get really upset. And I was like, what is wrong? Clyde, what is wrong? And she's like, not here, mommy. And I'm like, what? She's like, no, not here. Like freaking out. And I was like, okay, all right, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it somewhere else. We're gonna drive away. We're gonna go and have a good day, okay? And I said, I looked at my friend Caitlin and I'm like, she's like, Melissa, something's very wrong. She's like, I've been around your daughter. This is not normal. Yeah. I've been around other children.
This is not normal. That's not normal.
She's like, well, something is very, very wrong. And so I pulled off into another area of the subdivision that he lived in and tried to talk to her. She recognized the area and still did not feel safe. So she wouldn't tell me like why she was upset. So we pulled out of the whole area and we went to a place like a shopping center and I parked the car. And my friend Caitlin was like, you know what, let me just talk to her. I am a mandated reporter, so whatever she tells me, I have to report it. And maybe she just doesn't feel safe enough to tell you because it's like she doesn't want to upset you. Well, oftentimes children do that. They don't want to parent about something bad that happened. So my friend Caitlin and her partner had given my daughter a stuffed animal as well. During all of this, and Caitlin asked my daughter a series of questions. I don't really know. I was off to the side. I was just praying that, like, if something really horrible happened to my daughter, that she would feel comfortable enough to tell Caitlin. And so Caitlin said, Melissa, you know, your daughter really, she's asking for you. So you need to talk to her. But she did indicate something happened and it's not good. And I'm like, okay. So I pulled Calliope out of her car seat and I put her in an SUV. So I put her in the back of the SUV.
Yeah.
And it was just talking to her and hugging her. And based on the way that she smelled, it kind of smelled like her father. But like other things too. And I was very confused why she would smell that way.
Yeah. Can I ask how old she is at this point?
At that point, she was 6 weeks away from being 3. Yeah. So, I just asked her because myself, I am a survivor of child sexual abuse by my brothers. And I went to a group therapy with other survivors, and in that they talk about the behaviors of children, specifically behaviors of children who are sexually abused by an adult male in their life, whether it's an uncle or their father or stepfather or grandfather. Because the way that my experience and how I handled it was different from somebody being sexually abused by an adult male.
Oh, okay.
Mine was older. My oldest brother being 4.5 years older than me. That's a completely different experience than somebody being sexually abused by an adult. And so I happened in that moment, I happened to remember some of the things that they talked about. And I said to her, I pointed at my crotch and I said, what does daddy recall what's between his legs? And I'm pointing, I said, specifically in this spot, does daddy have a name for it? And I was really hoping she would say no, like, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. Or she would say penis because she has a nephew who's 6 months older than her. And at that age, children are learning that girls have vaginas.
Yeah. Body parts. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So she said shoes. And I was like, shoes? I was like, his feet. She's like, no, mommy. And I'm like, right here? Hip in between his legs at the top? And she said, yeah, that's daddy's shoes. And I was like,
that's weird.
Daddy shoes? Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so he's calling it by something else. That is what my worry was, because I knew that adults refer to their genitalia by a completely different name to confuse people. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, has he ever put what's between his legs, like, on you? Has he ever touched you? And she said, yeah. And I was like, has he ever made you touch what's between his legs? She said, yeah, mommy. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, daddies are not supposed to do that. That's not what daddies are supposed to do with their daughters. And I'm so sorry. And I said, well, has daddy ever put what's between his legs, like, in your vagina? And she said, no, but he has here. And she lifted off her butt cheek and leaned to the side and pointed to her bum.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I was like, are you saying that your dad has put what's between his legs in your bum? And she said, yes, and it hurt, mommy. I don't like that. And I said, no, of course not.
No.
And I didn't refer to it by penis. I didn't refer to it by daddy's shoes. I just specifically kept saying what's between his legs, because I wasn't going to confirm that it's called daddy shoes.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to confuse her by referring to it as penis if he's saying
correct
daddy shoes. Mm-hmm. So at that point, we took her to the hospital and let them know what was going on. She had an exam. During the exam, they had me, she was still in diaper. She was potty training. So she had like a pull-up on. Mm-hmm. So they had me take off the pull-up so they could inspect the area to see if there was any damage. When I undid the pull-up, I gasped because there was a hair in her pull-up.
Oh.
And it was a hair that looked very much like his pubic hair. And they were like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, well, I mean,
like, not hair on his head from changing.
Had a child together.
Yeah. You know.
I know what it looks like, and it's very unkept. So very, very aware of that. And so they were like, okay, let's bag that up for evidence. Thankfully there was no physical trauma to either areas, but when they went to go look at her bum, and they looked at her vagina, make sure there was nothing and everything was okay. When it was time for them to look at her bum to inspect that area, she got very distraught. She freaked out. She did not want anybody touching it, even though I was there. And the doctor who was given these types of exams was like, that's a pretty clear sign. Like, most children that haven't been sexually abused are not going to freak out about that.
We'll just stand there. I mean, yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah.
Like, it's no big deal, if you're not abused or harmed in some way.
Yeah.
So they ended up calling CPS and the police. The police came, collected the evidence. CPS could not have my daughter with me overnight due to the current court order at that point, because this was a Monday, which was Tuesday. And so my mom came up to the hospital, and I said, I only trust my daughter being in the care of my mother, because unfortunately my daughter's father lives with his parents. So while I do feel comfortable with my daughter being in the care of her paternal grandmother, he would be there. And I have concerns over that. So they had to go and convince him that the right thing to do was to have my daughter with my mother. So my mother was allowed to take my daughter per CPS, and I went home. I was not with my mother. The next day, my daughter had a care house interview. She also had an interview at Haven as well.
Mm.
And during the care house interview, she didn't really indicate, like, say much, because she was like really close to being 3 years old. But she did indicate like some fear over certain areas being touched. So they were concerned, but it wasn't enough for them to make a definitive answer whether or not anything happened.
Can you, sorry to interrupt, for more explanation, can you explain what those two, what Haven is and what care house is? Because there's people from all over the country that are listening. So
absolutely. Yeah. So care house is specifically when a child is abused, whether it's physically or sexually, they go there and they have a forensic interview. So a forensic interviewer who is trained in speaking to children about abuse and recognizing if a child is telling the truth or not was interviewing my daughter about what happened and if whether or not her dad does anything, but they leave it to be child led. So like open-ended questions to see how a child responds. But my daughter didn't specifically say my dad puts anything in her bum or makes me touch those things. And which is not uncommon for children at that age to not say a lot during those interviews. Now Haven is an organization for domestic violence and sexual abuse survivors, whatever type of sexual abuse or assault that it is. And so my daughter had to go to Haven for a child-centered SANE exam. A SANE exam is a sexual assault nurse examiner exam. So for children, it's done way different than if you are an adult.
Okay.
Again, it is child-led. They don't make a child feel uncomfortable in any way. And so they, while we were there, and the police specifically and CPS requested that I be present at each interview because my daughter reported it to me, and also I'm her mother. So they needed me to be there for those interviews. My daughter at the Haven interview, again, same reaction when they wanted to look at her bum. Freaked out. She clenched her butt cheeks, would not let anybody touch it at all. And so they stopped the exam, and that for them, that was a clear sign that something has happened, because that is not a normal reaction for a child of that age to not want somebody to look at their bum.
Yeah.
While we were there, I got a phone call from my lawyer saying that his attorney had filed an emergency motion claiming that I had coached my daughter, that I was mentally disturbed, that I was a danger to my daughter, and the court granted that motion. And so my mom was supposed to meet him at her house to exchange my daughter. And instead, they showed up at the gates of Haven, which, for those that are not listening, a perpetrator is not supposed to know that. So we don't know who told them that we were at Haven at that moment.
But somebody must have.
Yeah, they should have never been told.
Yeah.
So because that happened, Haven was very concerned. So they called the county sheriff to come out. They said, unfortunately, it's court order, so we do have to, and it says specifically that your daughter has to be returned. Should he be here? Absolutely not. They should have went to your mother's house, as the court order says. But we do have to honor this court order. My mom had to carry my daughter out, and my daughter was clinging to my mother. This is my mother's account of the that moment, clinging to my mother, crying and saying, no, I don't want to go to my daddy. No, don't make me grow. Like, she was clinging to my mom. According to my mother, I wasn't there. They didn't allow me to be there for that moment. I had to sit inside. But it was very traumatic. The next day we had court. The guardian ad litem said that I am a danger to my daughter, and that she is going to ask that the court give him sole physical custody and make me go to supervised parenting, and also see a psychologist, because she has concern about my mental health, that I'm coaching my daughter to say things like that about her father. So fast forward, because my story is quite long and detailed.
Yeah.
I went through the supervised parenting, was upgraded to a different supervisor where like we went out in public and I had a couple of hours with my daughter. We did activities. During that process, my supervisor had interactions with my daughter's father that made it very clear that he was very abusive and manipulative. And so she said, while I am tasked with talking about you and your daughter, I cannot ignore that behavior. I will be putting it in my report after the 10 sessions. And so part of the court order is, even after those 10 sessions, we are going to continue to have supervised parenting with that parenting time supervisor. It's still, a court order says otherwise. So we had scheduled more sessions. Once that recommendation and the report came out, he was very angry that that supervisor wrote about him. So he said that he was no longer going to allow our daughter to see me with that supervisor, because she clearly is very biased, and that I must have manipulated her in some way. But the report very clearly was just talking about her interactions, and like she had emails that she put in there about how
so actual evidence.
Yeah. So his attorney said, well, you don't get to just decide that, and if like you have to take your daughter to this next supervised visit, and then we'll do, there's going to be a court hearing event, in a couple of weeks. We'll deal with it then, but you do have to take your daughter to that session. He refused to do it. We ended up getting an emergency motion filed because of that, and the judge was very concerned about his behavior. So at that moment, the guardian ad litem could not defend his behavior anymore, because up until that moment, she defended his behavior constantly. Like, he could do no wrong at all. Even though he didn't work and deliberately did not work, even though he had a degree from Georgetown and a law degree as well, he refused to work, and he could do no wrong. But at that moment, she could no longer defend his actions. So the judge started to allow me to have like parenting time that wasn't overnights for a couple of weeks, and then it became overnights, and then eventually we had a regular schedule again.
Good.
And this was like right as COVID was starting.
Oh, okay.
And then we have an evidentiary hearing during the summer of 2020. During that time, my attorney asked him questions, and my daughter's father lost his attorney for violating that court order. He was without an attorney for a period of time because he violated that court order, and I had an attorney. And so during the evidentiary hearing, he was specifically asked, like, why do you not work? And I can't remember exactly how he said it, but it was something to the effect that, like, the rules that they have in he doesn't feel he should have to follow. And so it's really hard for him to work because he doesn't like those rules. And something to that effect, it was far worse. I can't.
Yeah. But just crazy, like not normal response. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And the judge was like, something's wrong here. And so she ordered a psychological evaluation for him. And since he wasn't working, it had to be free, even though he actually had the ability to pay for a psychological evaluation. Because his family is very wealthy. They were looking at, she was going by his income. And he doesn't have home.
Yeah.
So they scheduled it with friend of the court. Because it was at friend of the court, somehow I also had to have one. And then they had to evaluate our daughter as well. So we all did that. I went to mine and I didn't miss it. He ended up missing his, pretending like he didn't get it, and blaming COVID and everything. And it's like, but you knew that was going to happen, so you should have just called front of the court.
Yeah.
The psychologist at front of the court was like, well, I'll just reschedule you. It's no big deal. Like, it was no big deal to her that he violated that court order and didn't show up to his appointment. The judge did not like that, though.
Yeah.
But was like, we have to get this. Eventually we got it, and it was like December of 2020. There was an election in Oakland County for the court in 2020. And the person who won had a background as a referee at front of the court. So we knew that they were going to move someone from family court to civil criminal and put this new judge in place. And our judge did not have a lot of experience with family court prior to winning her judgeship.
So she got moved.
She was the one that got moved. So now it was like, we have to start all over
with a new judge. Yeah.
But, hopefully, and the judge had to get up to speed. So, my attorney knew the judge due to the fact that they both went to, at some point they went to the same synagogue, but at that moment they weren't going to say. So he knew her, and also knew her from her being a referee on some of his cases. And so he didn't think there would be any issues with her. Unfortunately, while we were waiting to get a hearing to get a final order based off of the psychological evaluation, where for my daughter's father, it specifically said he had an unspecified personality disorder, and that he needed further evaluation to determine what psychological or what personality disorder he has, or if it's multiple personality disorders that he has, because that can happen. It's not very common, but it can. So that never happened. He was never ordered to have further psychological testing or see a psychologist to determine like what's really going on there. And then at the beginning of March in 2021, my sister happened to come across my daughter and her son engaging in sexualized play. And they had gone quiet. And so prior to that, there were times where they were just getting into things that they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
We both worked from home at that period of time, as most people did.
Yeah.
My daughter, I homeschooled her for preschool. And so to that day, we also happened to have an electrician that was working on stuff in the basement. We have a 2-story house. I was in the dining room working. My sister was upstairs in the office. And on the second floor is where my daughter's room is. So previously, like, my daughter and my nephew had like pulled out her slime kit and started to make slime because they remembered how to do it. But there's carpet. And so, they made a mess. It wasn't a big deal because it's water soluble. It cleans up. No big deal.
Yeah.
They weren't in trouble. Prior to that, like, we make our own hand soaps, and they know how we do that. And so they were like, oh, the hand soap is empty. Let's remake it. They didn't do it in the bathroom. They did it in her room. And so we were like, okay, so my sister's thought was like, okay, what adorable thing are they getting into? I must record this. I must record this moment. And being that she and I both are survivors, she was also sexually abused by her brother at the same time that I was. She was like frozen. And what am I witnessing? But her phone camera is still rolling. And then she stopped it because she thought they were done. They weren't done. she hit record again, because at this point she's like thinking about herself as a child, and that if she walked in and disturbed them and made it seem like they were doing something wrong, even though they have no idea that what they're doing is wrong and inappropriate, that it will be further traumatizing. So she was just like, okay, I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait, and then when I'll go in and stop it when I can. And eventually she was able to do that, and she just was like, hey guys, how's it going? And they were like, well, we're not doing anything. They were like, nothing's wrong. And they're like, she's like, well, I need to talk to Calliope. So, and she said to her son, you need to go downstairs and see Mimi. And they were like, but why? We weren't doing anything wrong. We weren't doing anything wrong. And they're like, I just need to talk to Calliope, and you're going to go downstairs and see your Aunt Mimi right now. That's what you're going to do. And so my nephew came downstairs, and I was like, what were you guys doing? He's like, we weren't doing anything wrong. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to let my sister do whatever she is doing. And I'm going to be at work.
Yeah.
And
because at that point, you didn't know what was going on upstairs.
I had no idea what was going on. Yeah. My sister did a voice memo with my daughter asking her about what was going on. I didn't know what she was doing. I didn't know why she was talking to my daughter. She, later on in the evening after the children went to bed, she told me what happened. She told and played that
voice memo.
And what I remember from the voice memo, almost 5 years later, is that my sister asked her, where did you learn to put, that behavior, what you were doing with my son? Where did you learn that? She's like, oh, from TV. And my sister's like, what TV show? And she's like, oh, like an adult one. And she's like, well, children aren't supposed to do that. She's like, oh, I didn't know that. I just thought, it was appropriate. And she's like, well, where did you watch this TV show at? Did you watch it here? And she's like, no. She's like, okay, well, where did you watch it? She's like, it was just a TV show. It was just a TV show. And she's like, okay, well, that's not appropriate. You shouldn't be doing that. That's not what children are need to do.
Yeah.
And then my sister just was like, have you played like this with anybody else? Because at this point, my daughter just kept thinking that it was just play. It's just playing. And so my sister, phrased it that way. And my daughter very matter-of-factly was like, oh yeah, my daddy and I do all the time. And my sister's like, what? You play like that with your daddy? And she's like, yeah, my daddy. And my sister just went through the things that my sister saw my daughter and her son do, and was like, well, do you do this? And she's like, yeah, we do that. That's what daddy and I do all the time. And she's like, is there anything else? And my daughter described other ways that her father sexually abuses her. And I told my attorney about it. My attorney was very adamant that I not say anything.
Really? Okay. For what reason?
He said that if I said anything, that the guardian ad litem would claim that I could not let it go, and that I coached my daughter and I would never get my daughter back, that they would have justification to take my daughter from me. And I was like, are you kidding me? She very clearly is being sexually abused by her father, and she said so, and I have to report it. I have to protect her. I cannot send her back there knowing what he's doing to her and put her in harm's way. I become complicit at that moment. And he's like, I'm warning you, Melissa, if you do, from my experience, the court will not look favorably upon you.
Just insane. It's an insane system. Like, what?
Yeah, I'm just like, what? How could that even be possible? That they would not protect my daughter, not understand that I was doing what I needed to do as a parent to ensure my daughter's safety.